There's a lot of things I am in life, but one thing I'm not is a guy who watches the prelims. So let's just go ahead and move on to the fights that were actually interesting. Kelvin Gastelum versus Sean Brady. How on earth is it that Kelvin is the 185er who moved down to 170 for this fight? Because he looked tiny out there. Brady is so unbelievably jacked. He was just manhandling Kelvin. And Gastelum was always known for having really good wrestling and really good scrambles. But there was none of that tonight. He was getting taken down, he was flat on his back, and he had no ability to get up. And I think a big reason for that is Brady is a really high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu. He had a super slick back take on Kelvin in round 1. If someone takes you down out in the middle of the octagon, the only way you're getting up is by turning to turtle. But every time Kelvin did that in this fight, he was just giving up his back. He was screwed no matter where this fight took place. It was almost like Gastelum didn't even have a chance to defend any of Sean's takedowns. He would shoot, and the second he got his hands on him, Kelvin was already down. He just got absolutely manhandled. But the thing that was so shocking to me was that Kelvin did not look good on the feet. He did not look smooth at all. I mean, this guy, the one who had that 5-round war with Israel Adesanya, dropping him multiple times. He had been training under Rafael Cordero for a really long time, and he was always known as a high-level kickboxer, but there was none of that this fight. None of it. He was throwing 1-2s way out of range. He just looked really sloppy. While watching it live, I had thought to myself, man, Kelvin must be like, 37, 38 now? No, he's 32 years old. Should still be in his prime, but look, I don't think Kelvin is done with the sport. I think the sport's done with Kelvin, and he should probably try to find something else to do, as much as it pains me to say. Moving on to Rob Font versus Davidson Figueiredo. Figueiredo is extremely skilled. He is a really, really good fighter. For him to go out there, have that much success on his feet despite being so much shorter, and then also being able to out-grapple Font so well despite being so much smaller is really impressive. But now I see everybody under the sun calling for him to fight Yan. And look, I'll take it. It's MMA. Anything can happen. But one thing you cannot deny is Figueiredo is tiny for this division. He is so small. Font is by no means a particularly imposing individual at 135. And he looked massive compared to Davison. When Figueiredo took him down in the first round, Font, he put 2 butterfly hooks in and then just lifted Davison into the air to get back up. That's how much stronger Font was than him. And look, this just speaks to Figueiredo's skills. He was clearly the far more skilled fighter. But as he moves up the ranks of this division, that skill gap is just going to keep closing more and more and more. And he is 100% too small for the best of the division. Speaking of huge size advantages, Jalen Turner versus Bobby Green. Going into this fight, I really did not see how Bobby Green was going to win. The only thing still kind of putting a question mark there was the fact that Jalen took the fight on short notice. But Bobby Green is a 45er. That is just the truth. This was evident when he was fighting Drew Dober. It was evident when he fought Islam Makhachev and said Islam's strength was inhuman. And it was certainly evident tonight. Typically when a fighter has a 5-inch height advantage over someone in their division, it's because the shorter guy is really jacked. He's a big guy. Well, that was not the case here. That is for sure. Bobby Green is a super slick striker. He is really, really skilled, but he's fighting one of the best strikers in the entire division who also towers over him. I mean, he had every disadvantage going into this fight, other than the fact that it was on short notice. So that's all bad enough for Bobby Green. But to make things even worse, that stoppage, holy mother of God, I have never seen something so vile, so despicable, so just absolutely astronomically mind-boggling in my life. I mean, that referee clearly has a fetish for watching people get horrifically put to sleep. And I don't think people really understand how bad that was. Like, yeah, everyone's complaining about a bad stoppage, but you do realize Bobby Green, he got concussed from the very first punch that wobbled him. He ate 2 more concussive punches. The fight should have been stopped right after those 2. And then he ate 10 more. The athletic commissions need a 100% zero tolerance to this kind of a thing. He needs to be fired. This referee, Kerry Hatley, needs to be shunned from the MMA world for the rest of his life. And this is not a joke. He gave Bobby Green 12 more concussions than he was meant to get this night. Moving on to the main event, I was really looking forward to this one because I could not wait to see what insane grappling exchanges we were going to get in this fight. I did a breakdown of this fight where I talked about how good Beneil Dariush was at bringing wrestlers into his world the second they hit the mats. When he fought Gamrot, it did not matter how insane Gamrot's wrestling was, how good his scrambling was. The second he took Beneil down, he was immediately getting pulled into a leg lock, or Beneil was grabbing a Kimura to defend the takedown. And without Arman really being able to control Beneil Dariush on the ground because of that, I didn't think he was going to be able to win this fight. I also think based on their past performances, it's really difficult to make the argument that Arman is a more technical striker than Beneil Dariush. But what is also hard to make an argument against is that when you get hit really hard, you get knocked out, and that is exactly what happened. Arman did not make a single attempt to take the fight to the ground, which the only conceivable reason why I think he didn't do so was that he must have watched my video I made about him fighting Beneil Dariush and realized, alright, that is not my path to victory. Either that or his team just came to the same conclusion that I did, but I'm just going to choose not to believe that. The setup he used to knock Dariush out, I've never seen before. He grabbed the tie clinch, pulled Dariush's head down, feinted the knee, and then turned that into a Superman punch. It was so unorthodox, it landed so clean, so flush, because Dariush did not see that coming. Next, I would love to see Arman fight Justin Gaethje. I think he'd probably mop the floor with him. I mean, if he's able to get Justin to the ground, he's gonna be a baby. He can lock up any submission attempt he wants. The thing is, though, I wish we could say after this fight that we know that Arman has made huge strides in his striking, but I can't really say that yet. It was a super interesting setup he used to get the knockout, but as far as patching up the holes in his defense to make sure he's not hittable, because as it stands right now, Arman is still pretty hittable. It's going to be a tough night if he's fighting Oliveira or Islam Makhachev, both of which have elite striking on top of elite grappling skills, especially Islam with the striking. I wouldn't be upset either if you gave him Dustin Poirier, but one thing we know about Poirier, he will not fight any up-and-comers. No way. He just refuses to do that, so it probably won't happen, but I'd love to see it. Either that, or give Arman the winner of Paddy versus Tony. Or the loser. Or just Paddy.